In the world of the samurai, honor, loyalty, and discipline were not mere concepts. They were the bedrock of life. The Bushido Code, often referred to as the Way of the Warrior, guided the actions and decisions of these legendary fighters, shaping them into disciplined, spiritual beings who lived and died by their values. The tale of Miyamoto Musashi, one of Japan's most celebrated warriors, is not just a story of physical duels and martial prowess, but also a profound exploration of how Bushido influences and shapes a person's life. In Musashi by Eiji Yoshikawa, the code of Bushido weaves itself into every aspect of the protagonist's journey, transforming him from a reckless, vengeful youth into a disciplined, wise warrior. Musashi's relationship with Bushido is complex, as it is for many of the characters in the novel. As the narrative unfolds, we witness his struggles, his adherence to, and his eventual transcendence of the Bushido Code. In this essay, we will examine how the ideals of Bushido, honor, loyalty, and discipline are represented throughout the novel, and how they shape not only Musashi, but also other key figures in the story. Before we dive into this rich exploration of Musashi's transformation through the lens of Bushido, we'd like to welcome you to the Unfolding Journey, the channel where we analyze timeless stories, philosophical teachings, and life lessons from literature, history, and culture. Today's journey will take us deep into the heart of the samurai tradition and how it resonates through Musashi's life. If you love exploring the deeper meanings behind classic stories, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and tap the bell icon to stay updated on our latest content. Bushido, the Way of the Warrior, was a code of ethics that guided samurai behavior. At its core, Bushido emphasized 5 fundamental values: Ji, justice; Yu, bravery; Rei, politeness; Meo, honor; and Chugi, loyalty. These principles were more than rules. They were a way of life, shaping the samurai's sense of duty, respect, and integrity. In Musashi, the influence of Bushido is unmistakable. The novel is saturated with moments where characters are forced to choose between personal desires and the honor-bound expectations of the warrior code. Through Musashi's journey, we see how the tension between these ideals and personal growth plays out. Honor is perhaps the most prominent value of Bushido, and it is central to the identity of every samurai. Musashi's early years are a battle with this very concept. As a young man, Musashi is driven by vengeance and pride. After the death of his father, he challenges the world, thirsting for revenge and the validation of his prowess. His actions, especially in his early duels, reveal a deep desire for personal glory and recognition, which often leads him to disregard the traditional codes of Bushido in pursuit of victory. However, as Musashi matures, we see a gradual evolution in his understanding of honor. His victory over Sasaki Kojiro, the renowned swordsman, marks a significant moment in this transformation. Before the duel, Musashi's motivations are still tainted by the desire for personal victory. But after the battle, he reflects on the deeper meaning of his actions. He comes to understand that true honor lies not in individual glory, but in living a life that aligns with a higher set of principles that transcend personal pride. Musashi's relationship with honor evolves further when he begins to understand that his actions affect others around him. For instance, when he seeks refuge with Otsu, he begins to see how his sense of honor influences those he loves. His early struggles with the concept of honor gradually shift from seeking external recognition to understanding that true honor is internal, a quiet, unspoken virtue that guides every decision. Loyalty, or Chugi, is another pillar of Bushido that plays a central role in Musashi's journey. Throughout the novel, we see various characters who embody or wrestle with the concept of loyalty. For some, loyalty to their lord or master is unwavering, and for others, it becomes a complicated issue that forces them to question their allegiances. In the case of Musashi, loyalty is initially seen as a transactional concept. His early loyalty is to his desire for revenge and the pursuit of his personal ambitions. However, as he matures, he begins to experience a deeper, more nuanced understanding of loyalty. This is evident in his interactions with the Ito-Ryu school of swordsmanship and his eventual decision to leave behind the bloodthirsty pursuit of vengeance. His sense of loyalty shifts from a focus on outward obligations to an allegiance to his own spiritual and philosophical growth. Other characters in the novel, such as Jotaro, Musashi's adopted son, also grapple with loyalty in different ways. Jotaro, who is loyal to Musashi as a father figure, also represents the younger generation that follows Musashi's teachings and the ideals of Bushido. Jotaro's loyalty is tested when he is torn between Musashi and the Itoryu's demand for allegiance. His journey illustrates how loyalty can be both a source of strength and a potential burden. Loyalty in the novel is not about blind obedience, but rather a deeper sense of responsibility and trust. Musashi's evolution from a lone warrior seeking vengeance to a mentor guiding the next generation illustrates that true loyalty is not to a person or cause, but to a set of higher ideals that transcend personal desires. The value of discipline, or rei, is perhaps the most pervasive aspect of Musashi's character development. From the moment he begins his journey as a young, unruly swordsman, discipline is the key to his transformation. In the early part of the novel, Musashi is a brash, undisciplined fighter who views combat as a way to prove himself. His duels are not just tests of skill, but tests of ego and pride. His inability to control his emotions often leads to reckless decisions. However, as Musashi grows both as a warrior and as a person, discipline becomes the cornerstone of his approach to life. His time spent in isolation, training, and meditating becomes a path to self-mastery. The rigorous physical and mental training he undergoes is a direct reflection of the samurai's commitment to discipline. In this way, Musashi embodies the samurai's strict adherence to self-control and the cultivation of inner strength. Discipline is also evident in Musashi's approach to swordsmanship. Unlike many of his contemporaries, Musashi does not adhere to a specific school or style of combat. Instead, he develops his own unique method, known as the two swords technique, which requires immense discipline to master. This discipline is not only physical but mental, as Musashi constantly seeks to understand the nature of combat, the mind, and the world around him. Throughout the novel, we see Musashi's discipline manifest in the way he approaches challenges, whether in battle, relationships, or personal growth. He learns to control his impulses, to think strategically, and to act with purpose and precision. While Musashi is the central figure of the novel, other characters also embody or struggle with the principles of Bushido. Characters such as Sasaki Kojiro, the Itoryu swordsman, and even Atsu, the woman Musashi loves, all have varying relationships with the code of Bushido. These interactions highlight how the values of Bushido are not monolithic and can be interpreted in many different ways. For instance, Sasaki Kojiro is portrayed as a man of great skill, but his sense of honor is ultimately his undoing. His obsession with proving himself to be the best leads him down a path of pride and hubris, which contrasts sharply with Musashi's more nuanced understanding of honor. Kojiro's commitment to his own ego, rather than to the deeper values of Bushido, leads to his tragic end. Similarly, Atsu's loyalty to Musashi and her struggle to understand his journey reflects the tension between personal desire and the obligations of Bushido. She is a character who embodies the more traditional view of loyalty, but also learns, through her interactions with Musashi, that loyalty to a person must also align with a deeper sense of purpose. By the end of the novel, Musashi's relationship with Bushido reaches a point of transcendence. No longer bound by the rigid codes of the warrior class, Musashi reaches an enlightened understanding of his role in the world. He realizes that the true way of the samurai is not a set of rules, but a continuous journey of self-improvement, spiritual growth, and understanding. In his later years, Musashi becomes a teacher and philosopher, passing on his insights not just about combat, but about life itself. He teaches that Bushido is not merely about fighting with a sword, but about understanding the nature of conflict, life, and death, and approaching every moment with clarity and purpose. The influence of Bushido in Musashi is undeniable. The code of honor, loyalty, and discipline shapes the characters and their decisions, and through Musashi's journey, we witness the struggle to live by these principles in a complex and changing world. Musashi himself embodies the evolution of the samurai spirit, starting as a brash, self-centered youth and growing into a wise, disciplined warrior who understands the deeper meaning behind Bushido. Through Musashi's story, we see how the values of Bushido are not just rules to live by, but a dynamic force that shapes the lives of those who follow it. Honor, loyalty, and discipline are not mere abstractions. They are living, breathing ideals that guide actions, relationships, and personal growth. Musashi's journey teaches us that the true way of the warrior is not about fighting battles, but about understanding oneself and the world around us.